And so the true prostration is the mind surrendering into the self, the bowing of the mind into the self, into this moment, and simply being here. That it is to be here so fully that there is nothing else, nothing other than this here now. That what brings you here is already here. There are no goals or intentions to be mapped out for the future, because future goals and intentions are of the mind. And as the mind surrenders into the self, into just being, the fulfillment of all ideas of goals is right here. It's to let go of the daydreaming, let go of the meanderings of the mind, imagining, and just be here. Just be here so fully, so as to be one with what you are longing for and recognize the oneness that you already are. You are the self, you are reality. To imagine that you are not is exactly what keeps you from this truth. To imagine that you are not, and then to create a seeker, to create a journey, to create goals and intentions out of your longing. It is to surrender into the felt sense of what is longed for, and to be here so willing to meet this longing that all interpretations of this longing is a meandering of the mind away from the fulfillment to the longing, to set ideas and intentions of an imagined future when there is only now. So it is to be here now so fully that there is nothing else other than this moment. And your longing is the aliveness of the heart, turning towards that felt sense of what is longed for, the felt sense of that whisper, that innermost whisper that is calling you to your deepest, truest knowing, calling you to be yourself, calling you to be here, to open to recognize that everything that is sought for is already here. In the fullness of this moment, the openness of this moment, you already are. You already are. It is not to look for anything with the mind. It is to be here so fully present that mind disappears. It merges into this moment. It dissolves, melts into itself, the self. To follow the longing is to melt into a quality of love and devotion, where there is a turning inwards, a turning towards this felt sense of longing, a devotion to love itself, a devotion to devotion, a devotion to this moment. Let the prostration be to now. Let the prostration be to love. Let the prostration be to the unknown. The surrender of all mental knowing into the unknown in this moment. Feel your own purity. Feel the purity of heart. Feel the purity of mind when you come underneath the wants and desires, the stories, the concepts and beliefs. Come underneath and feel your own purity. Feel the simplicity. Feel your innate goodness, your innate kindness, your innate beauty. Feel this great sweetness of who you truly are. Underneath all the stories of not enoughness, unworthiness, needing this, needing that, wanting this, wanting that, fall through the cracks of all of these storylines and just simply be here. Feel your own purity. Feel your goodness. When you come to feel your purity and your goodness, you feel your true nature. You feel your innocence. You feel the innocence of your own simple presence that has never been touched or sullied in any way by the story of life, where there is no story and no attachment to past, no attachment to the imaginings of future. Then you are just here now, and you are in the eternal nature. It is only when psychological memory comes in, when thought comes in, that it pulls the attention habitually away from this moment. But this moment says, be here now and discover the truth of who you are. Be here so fully that there is nothing between you and yourself. Nothing, no thing, no thought, no idea, no belief, nothing to obstruct the direct knowing of yourself, the direct, pure, simple remembering of yourself. Right here, to be yourself, to be here now, for the mind to surrender in utter prostration to what it belongs to what it is longing for, to let that longing be so pure and so full in its richness, to feel that longing as a pull of the heart without knowing what that means or what that is or what it is for. It is just to meet this longing, meet this longing with utter abandon as your pure, good self. Meet this longing and be one with yourself. Be one with the self that you have always been. Be one with the love that you are. Be one with reality and know yourself and only yourself. The mind can be so full of wanting this and wanting that, desiring this, desiring that, liking this, not liking that. But it is to fall between all wanting and desiring, all outstretching into the external for wants and desires to be met. And it is to turn your wanting towards what is truly longed for. This is when the true quest really only begins, when nothing else is longed for, when nothing else is wanted but self-knowledge, when nothing else is wanted but knowledge of the self. The knowledge of the self is here. Can imagine that we want nothing other than the self. But it is to be so aware of all of those threads that continue to want and need of the worldly. As long as worldly desires are pulling the attention, then this deep knowing of the truth of who you are will seem elusive, and the me will tell itself a story. I'm totally devoted. I want nothing else. This is all I long for. Absolutely committed to this and nothing else. But there can be a story being told, which is not the whole truth. As long as worldly desires are pursued, then the sense of knowing of yourself will seem elusive. But it is not elusive. It is right here. It is right here underneath the play of the world and all of that outreaching and being distracted by the threads of wants and desires and needs. So, what to do? What to do about this? It is to watch the mind, watch with such open awareness, non-judgmental, no opinion, just open awareness that sees with such radical honesty, because you are resting in the purity and truth of a quality of true nature, which is the awareness. Awareness is always here. And as awareness is aware of all of these tendrils that can still pull the attention to the worldly, all the things the me thinks are so important. It is not that life does not continue. Life continues, but it's a very different flow when life is continuing and just flowing without the wants and the desires that bring up the resistances and challenges where the me gets in the way. But the great glory is that the way this all works is that nothing is outside of oneness. Nothing is outside of wholeness. There is only the self, and the self as all is conspiring to bring every single fiber of itself into divine remembering. So if you are resting as awareness and watching the habits and the instincts of the me, and allowing the light of awareness to illuminate and shine and be open and welcoming to these habits that continually distract into the worldly desires. Be open to see them, and just in the seeing, they start to unravel, because they are not what the mind thinks. They are not someone that is habitually moving in this way. They are patterns of consciousness. They are just patterns of consciousness, and they are moving in, we could say, well-worn grooves of patterning. But all those patterns want is to let go of their small dance and to dance the infinite flow, to dance as love flowing unconditionally, to dance as life flowing unconditionally, in utter surrender and devotion only to the self. These small dance patterns, they do not want to keep collapsing into these habitual patternings of behaviors. And the way that we can feel this through the me is to come to recognize every want, every desire, every need that the me thinks that they have. What is really at the root of that? We could say more clearly, who do these needs and desires arise to? Who is that one? But often there is not the maturity to ask the true question about who is this one, because the one that wants is still concerned with themselves. So they don't really want to get to the root, because the one that wants what it wants. So again, just to illuminate that one, because that one feels to be separate from the whole, and its wanting and its desiring is a habit. At the bottom, at the root of all wanting and desiring, it's to come to recognize what is truly wanted is, it's going to bring forward a word like love, connection, freedom, truth, God. It's going to bring forward a quality of true nature, an emblem, we could say, of true nature. That every single want, all of the wants that are about validating and affirming and trying to get security and connection in the world, underneath that play of how it exercises itself in a worldly way, what is truly longed for is reality. What is truly longed for is the love, the peace, and the joyful delight that is causeless and unconditioned. When you come to recognize this, then and only then, there is a readiness to turn inward, to recognize that what is truly longed for cannot be fulfilled in the worldly. When that is recognized, there is a readiness to turn into that which cannot be understood by the mind, a readiness to surrender it all into this moment, to surrender it all and to fall into a surrendered devotion to what is longed for, a surrendered devotion to love itself, to God, to truth, to freedom, to fall into a surrendered devotion for what is longed for, and that alone, because only when there is a turning so fully and wholly to the holiness of this moment in surrendered devotion, can this truth reveal itself? Can only reveal itself to one that is ready to receive the clear reflection, is ready to receive the clear, unquestionable knowing that is true self-knowledge, pure knowledge. The only knowledge that has any value is the knowledge of the self. When all avenues of worldly exploration to gain fulfillment have been explored and exhausted, comes a quality of surrender that recognizes fulfillment, true, lasting peace, happiness cannot be found in the world of things. It cannot be found in the temporary, transient, can only be found through falling into the eternal wholeness of this present moment that is your true nature. So as these words come, there is nothing to do. There is nothing to work for. It is just to feel the resonance of what is being pointed to and what is being invited. Feel the resonance and allow the resonance to enliven the longing of your heart. Allow the longing of your heart to come alive. Feel it as a magnetic pull. This kind of longing, this kind of devotion, it brings you to a quality of just wanting to collapse, wanting to collapse into the felt sense of this longing. It can bring tears of longing, a prayer, just wanting to be taken into the sublimity of your beautiful, true nature. It brings forward a calling, a crying out to that which is longed for. Praying, begging, please reveal yourself, reveal this truth of who I am, reveal this self. It is this depth of devotion that is without any inhibition, that is with wild abandon, that is a willingness to abandon the me and all of its mediocre wanting, all of its nonsense and stories of what it thinks is important, to feel what is being pointed to and what it takes, what it truly takes. You know, honestly, here in the West, we live in such a profoundly privileged way, and our privilege brings a quality of protection, and it brings a quality of a politeness and an inhibition, ways of behaving where we don't know how to let go into a depth of open-hearted, wild abandon. Even just in your very own company, in the company of yourself, to fall into a quality of deep longing where there's nothing left that means anything but this all-encompassing, wholehearted prayer that falls into this longing for what is true. Because what you can be sure of is that a mediocre devotion is not going to carry you into the bliss of being. A half-hearted devotion will not bring you to the magnificence and glory of who you are. You already are. You already are. But what keeps you from this knowing is the contraction of ego, the contraction of what has been learned, the contraction of protection. And it is the uninhibited releasing of all of this protection, all of this protection that bursts open the heart, where what the heart is really longing for can come forth and say, this is the only thing that means anything to me, right? So, as you hear these words, feel what happens. Can you feel your longing? Or does something in a very protected way bring an opinion and a judgment, a need to be right, a need to be right in a quality of protection? Because see it with the eye of awareness, see it with the light of awareness. So the invitation of love is to truly long to be one with love, to truly long to be one with what you are longing for. Whether you call that truth or self or God or the mother or reality, what are you longing for? What means everything to you? Because that is what you will be living. So, for example, if what means everything to you is your house and your car and your relationship and what the neighbors think of you, then that, my friends, is what you will be living, right? That is what will be your living reality. If that is what means everything to you, then that is what will be lived. If having money and having status is what is important to you, then that is what will be lived. If that brings a sense of peace, then beautiful. There's no judgment of that. The invitation is to find out what is that fire inside you. What is that fire, and what is it longing for? Feel that fire that is the heart. That fire is yourself. That fire, the true nature is fire. The true nature is fire. It's on fire. It's light. It's light. It is a fire that is the eternal flame. And that light, that fire is inside you as you're longing. It is the glory that lives inside you. So as these words come, feel the fire, feel the light, feel the spark, feel the longing, feel a quality of devotion, of a magnetic pull. What is it? What is it that your heart is longing for in this lifetime? What is calling you? What is calling you with all of this power? What is that? What is that? And can you be so open and free with that part of you, so as to let it out, let it become your living reality? Can you let this fire, this longing, this spark come into fulfillment, come into its fullness, its blazing, glorious fullness. Can you? Can you? Can you dare? Can you dare to live the joy that you are? Can you dare to live the bliss that you are? Can you dare to let your heart burst open in wild, unabandoned joy and know yourself? To know yourself, to know this truth of who you are. Can you let go of all of the stories of unworthiness, unlovableness, not ready, not mature enough, more work to do? Can you let go of the habit to be the seeker, the one that hasn't got it and has to work to find it? Can you let go of all of that, all of those stories, and be yourself here now? Can you join me here in the love that is true, in the wholeness, in the sameness where we meet as one? Can you meet here in the resonance that is utterly still underneath the play of the world, underneath the noise of the mind? Can you feel the stillness of your own presence? Can you meet me here as the presence of being? Can you be one with this voice? Can you be the one that is listening and the one that is speaking? Can you be one with what this is here now? Can you let go of all story and thought and assumption and opinion and evaluation and be here so fully that there is nothing else here and you cannot tell who is listening, who is speaking, who is who, what is what, that you are just this moment so fully all encompassed in yourself, absorbed in this moment, in the love that you are? Can you be the joy that is effervescently bubbling here now as an infinite field of being? Can you be the delight of the self, delighting in itself and bowing in prostration to itself? Can you fall into yourself so fully that you do not know who you are, because there is only being, and being yourself is the richest, fullest, most beautiful openness that could ever, ever have been imagined. Beyond, beyond imagining, beyond the mind's meanderings and musings. Here you are, here you are. Love that is in utter surrender to itself, in unconditioned flow, in devotion to itself. That this love is who you are, ever shining, ever shining, ever brilliant, ever bright, ever radiant, and blazingly in love with itself. The stillness, the silence, the simplicity of being. Feeling yourself here as the open presence that is everywhere, beaming, shining, knowing itself, knowing only itself, knowing only itself, finding only itself, and knowing only itself. And this self is who you are. This self is who you are, just being yourself, being the radiant beauty of the wide open heart that is blissful and peaceful as its true nature. You are everywhere. You are nowhere. You are one with oneness. There is no other. There is just this. Just this. Be carried by the flow of grace that is your own heart call into yourself. Be carried by the song of silence reverberating in this eternal moment that is the cathedral of silent glory. Silent, still, simple bliss, just simply being. Can you hear the song? Can you hear the song, the silent song of the one heart singing you home into the freedom that you are? Can you hear the song of love, rich and full and without any condition, flowing, flowing, flowing as the heart, shining, shining, shining as the blissful, blissful being, ever open to all of itself, longing, longing for all of itself, longing for you to know this truth, to fall into yourself, where your longing, the felt sense of your longing is so open that you cannot find whose longing this is. That longing itself is this vast open spaciousness, so alive that the longing is dancing simultaneously as fulfillment, as your knowing, your silent whisper, the innermost being whispering its silent truth. This is who you are. This blissful being is your true nature. This is who you are. Allowing the blazing, shining, radiant truth to be felt as the truth of who you are. That there is no other truth. This is a truth that cannot be spoken, cannot be fully articulated. It is a truth that you can only know as yourself, shining, shining as yourself. The self that is the radiant heart of all, where all sense of separation and individuality surrenders in prostration to what it all belongs to. That those small dance flows of consciousness surrender into the infinite unconditioned flow of life flowing as life. That which animates your form, that which animates everything, is the life that you are. You are the aliveness of life. You are not the person that is held in a series of beliefs. You are not the person who is held in a contracted idea, a conceptual false reality. You are the divine reality, ever free dancing as the appearance of creation. So you have heard the song of creation. Now find out, where is that song coming from? Where does the song of creation arise from? Follow it back to its silent source and find the blazing fire that is the heart, that is the one heart, and feel your belonging. Feel your belonging to the one heart. Feel yourself here now. Feel the simple, silent stillness of just being, your own simple presence. And feel the aliveness of that. The stillness, the silence, the ever-present now is wildly alive with a knowing that is self-knowledge. It's pure knowledge. It's the being itself. It is the self knowing itself, being itself. And you are that self, that one self. So it is to be yourself so fully here now, where there is nothing else, nothing other. There is only the self. And the self is the bliss of simply being. It is an ocean of bliss where all the rivers of dancing consciousness flow into the ocean of bliss, the ever-present ocean that just simply is, the wide open heart that just simply is, where love just is. Love loves love because that is all that love is. Love knows only itself, and love's nature is to love. Love just loving. This is the true nature of the wide open heart. The wide open heart that can bear it all, can receive it all, is eternally open to it all. This is the true nature. So it is about being here now, being here so fully, falling into the longing of the heart, the longing that feels like your longing of your heart. It is the doorway, the portal into the infinite realm of reality, true reality, the only reality, into the vast infinite landscape of pure consciousness. It is a golden, golden landscape where everything is shining as itself, where there is only one and there is no other. There is only the self, only love, only God, only the bliss of being. So as these words come, receiving the resonance, receiving the recognition where you can feel truth as your direct experience, feel the resonance where you can feel the truth, not as a belief, but you can feel a resonance, an alive resonance, can feel an alive resonance of yourself, just simply being. It is a recognition, and it is to feel this resonance that carries you deeper and deeper into divine knowing, the knowing of yourself simply being. It is this resonance where There is no mind trying, no mind efforting. Mind surrenders in prostration into simply being. Mind melts into heart, and then all there is heart. And who you are is heart. All there is heart. So there is no one measuring, no one judging, no one having an opinion. It is not that there is a divine one that is watching you and deciding about your readiness and your maturity. The divine one, you are already one with, as that divine one. What plays as your life is created out of your own consciousness. And that is all one. It's all one with the oneness, right? So wherever you are in this unfolding is utter perfection. You are one. You are that one. You are the peace, the glory, the simplicity, the silence that is the self. That is all there is. You cannot be divided from this truth, ever. You never have been, you never can be. So, what creates an illusion of division is believing thoughts. Thoughts, in their essence, are just flows of consciousness. When believing a thought happens, it creates a contraction, a small pattern in consciousness. And that small pattern just keeps looping upon itself. So the sense of separation and individuality is a series, a tangle of these looping patterns that are constantly looping. And as they're looping, they're telling themselves the same story, looping and looping and creating contraction. It's all consciousness. It's consciousness moving in patterns. All that consciousness wants is to shake free of those looping patterns, wants to shimmy free of all of those contracted, tight little patterns and flow in the oneness of true nature. So consciousness itself knows that in its essence is consciousness. And that's why it's wanting to shake free of these looping patterns. And then the looping patterns, by the magnificent glory of the play of creation, creates the appearance of all of these apparent people. And then all of the apparent people start to believe that they are individuals that are separate from the whole, and that they, as they believe these looping stories and beliefs, as they believe them and they keep looping, this tight little package, which is a unique flow of laws of nature, a unique flow of patterns of consciousness in a unique little cocktail. It's flowing, and that one feels to be separate. That one feels like I have got to be like the great escapo and free myself from these patterns in order to know myself. But it's not true, because you already are yourself. It's just when you believe that you are the patterns, that you believe that you have to escape from them. You believe you have to untangle and free yourself from them. But it's not true. You already are free of those patterns in your true nature, right? So it's a conundrum, because it feels so real to be in that contracted set of beliefs. But then So many of you can notice by now that when you are resting in the being, it's so clear that you are not that separate one. It's so clear when you know the being that you are. It's so clear. And yet those patterns, they start playing again, and they are moving in a habituated groove, a habituated pattern. They're playing a very particular tune, we could say. Mm-hmm. And that tune creates the feeling of you when you feel to be separate. But who you are never is separate. That is so important to come to some felt sense of, that there is no separation. There absolutely is no separation. It's not even really a concept. It gets created as a concept, but it's never ever true. There is no separation. There is no division of parts in the whole. Wholeness is wholeness is wholeness. Never divided, never diminished, ever whole. Wholeness is a wholeness that can never ever be divided, can never be fragmented. Wholeness is so whole that even if you take a piece of wholeness and you create a person over here, wholeness is still whole. And if you do this 7 point something billion times, wholeness is still whole. And if you create all of the trees and animals and things of the world, wholeness is still whole. That's the miracle that you are. You are that wholeness that is ever whole. Undivided reality, that is your true nature. Okay? True nature, true nature. Even true nature seems like a label. Wholeness, all of these are just what is. But we use these words to point to something that just is. So, nothing to do. It's all about being. Being the aware being. As the aware being, you can see that one that feels to be separate. As the aware being, you are already touching into your wholeness. As the aware being, you can see the one that has thoughts and feelings and sensations and story. You can see that one. You can see that one and how that one believes that their life and their story is real. That one believes that that is a reality. But where are you seeing from? Watch that one. Watch that one. As you are seeing that one that you have believed yourself to be, you can see very clearly that if you are watching that one, then what are you that is watching that one? And where are you that is watching that one? Feel into that. Feel into that now. Where are you that is watching that one that you have believed yourself to be? You are not inside that one. You are not the mind. You are not the body. You are watching from some kind of impartial, locationless venue that cannot be distinguished. Curious. Curious, but incredible. Incredible that there is a part of you that is watching the character, watching the mind, watching the thoughts, has an intimacy with the innermost musings of that mind, innermost crazy musings of that mind, right? Because that's the human condition. It's kind of crazy. Okay, so where you are watching for it from is completely intimate with all of that whole story. And yet, where you are watching from, whatever you are, this part of you, are you full of those crazy musings and meanderings? No, you're free of them, right? You're watching that crazy guy, you're watching that crazy woman, whatever, you're watching that crazy one. You're watching that one, that sweet one, that sweet, funny one, that innocent, beautiful one, with utter compassion, utter openness. So you can feel that there is a part of you. There is a part of you that can see that one, can see that character, has love and compassion, like a non-judgmental, total openness. So where there is judgment, that's mind judging mind, okay? Where you are watching from, there's no judgment. There's such an openness, such a love, such a compassion, such a holding, seeing that one, seeing how hard that one tries, right? See all this in that one that you have believed yourself to be. And then feel, where are you watching from? Where is this part of you that can see in a very impartial way? Feel that where you are watching from, you are not touched by those thoughts, by those gorgeous thoughts, those wild and crazy thoughts. You're not touched by the pain and suffering of that one. You're not touched in any way. Somehow you are completely impersonal and impartial. And it's this felt sense of being impersonal and impartial that gives you such a sense of compassion for that one that you have believed yourself to be. Like you love that one. You can only love that one. Whatever is happening in that one, can only love that one. So it's to feel this part of you that is utterly free from being the character, totally neutral. This felt sense of who you are, this part of you. It's a part of you, we could say the lesser known part of you. But it's not a part of you that's divided from the whole. It's a part of you that is overlooked because the habit that has been learned is to focus on this small part of you that is the mind and the story. So as you feel yourself as the vast one that is aware and watching, you can feel this impersonal, impartial openness. As soon as you follow a thought, you will feel a sense of contraction, and you will then suddenly feel like the me and the mind, and it will feel like a sticky pattern. It's like suddenly you're inside the crazy maze of the mind again. And then you feel yourself here now, and suddenly, spontaneously, this moment here now is all there is, and you are the presence in which all of that is taking place. You are the vast open spaciousness of being, and this is the self. This is the self. It is to feel the part of yourself, the lesser known part of yourself, and to come to a deep familiarity with the felt sense of your own presence. To come to a deep, familiar, intimate knowing of your own presence. Not to keep overlooking it. Don't come for a second, a fleeting second, and say, oh, yes, I know this presence, and then back to the mind and its meanderings. Come to this presence and stay in the glory. Explore this presence. Explore this presence by being here. Deepening and deepening. So let us say that to come to this presence and remain, it takes a quality of practice to be able to remain. And everyone will recognize that it takes a quality of practice to remain, to deepen and deepen and deepen. And that is the great glory of the sadhana of meditation is that it gives us a way to get used to just being, just sitting, just simply being. It trains us. It trains us to be able to have a bridge to this vast, infinite part of ourselves. So just sitting, it purifies, it transforms, it removes the meditator until there is just pure meditation, we could say. Pure meditation is self-absorbed in the self. We deepen and we deepen and we deepen. So the more that there can be a resting here now. It's not to follow any of the distractions of the mind, where the mind says, oh, I can't do that, it's hard, I get distracted. Be the aware being that can see every thought. Be the aware being that watches every thought. Yes, there are times where you will be in the whirlwind and life will be living itself through you. And it will seem like awareness is not here. But really, if there is a practice, it is the practice of being aware. Wherever awareness is where your true nature is. You are the awareness of this moment. You are not the person that is dancing in the maze of the mind, being tossed around by these patterns and thoughts and beliefs, from one thought to another thought to another thought, moving around with these ideas. To escape this is to just be here as the aware being. Awareness is the self. Awareness is not the mind being aware. It's awareness being aware of the mind. So to come to the aware being and be the aware being that is watching is how there is a freeing of all of these threads. So a part of where we started is, well, what about all these threads that are conditioned and keep pulling the attention? It is to be aware of all of the thoughts, all of the feelings. Be aware of the human nature playing itself out. Be aware of the human condition and how it dances in very looping, repeating patterns. Be aware of these patterns, and these patterns will start to dissolve. They will start to dissolve into what they are truly longing for. They will start to dissolve because they are magnetized by love. They are magnetized by the self. They are magnetized by the beaming brilliance of this part of you that knows the truth. And this is why your knowing of yourself is the most precious nectar that you want to be drinking and drinking and drinking. Drinking in the nectar of your true self. Drinking in the constant surrender into yourself, into yourself, into yourself. The constant turning to what you are longing for. Right? To find these qualities inside you, not to try to cultivate them, to try to effort and create them, but to find these natural qualities inside you of surrender, of devotion, of this magnetic pull that is the longing. So to feel, what are you truly longing for? Find the fire inside and fall into the fire. Watch the mind as the mind says, well, I don't really know how to do that. I hear you speak of this, but I don't really know how. The I don't know how is a quality of protection. It's a learned quality, an inhibition. So feel, what does it feel like to not know how? What does it feel like to feel so tight that you don't know how? Feel the energy of not knowing how. And you'll start to feel a kind of collapsing will start to happen. Honestly, it might even bring tears as collapsing of protective patterns come, and collapsing of holding patterns start to dissolve and let go. You don't need to know how, but be so comfortable with not knowing. Let that longing inside you guide you. Let the fire, the spark of your longing guide you. Give everything to that. Give everything to that which you cannot know or cannot fathom, whatever that emblem is, the great mystery, God, love, the great unfathomable, truth, bliss, the holy mountain, the silence, the Holy Mother, Divine Mother. It doesn't matter what that word is, what that emblem is, but surrender everything to that, because that is the sign that you recognize that there is something greater that all of your seeming parts belongs to. Surrender all of your seeming parts to what you truly belong to without knowing what that is. Give everything in divine surrender to what all of these seeming parts belong to. Because just that recognition that there is something vaster that you cannot fathom, and find your devotion to that. Find it as truth. Find your longing, your devotion, and surrender as natural qualities inside your innermost being. And give everything to that. This is true devotion. And this is the true prostration. Whether it's just you're sitting and you feel it happening internally, or whether some kind of movement falls through and you find yourself in a Anjali Mudra with your hands here like in a prayer position, whether you're on your knees and your foreheads to the ground, it doesn't matter. Whether you feel like a compelling pull to sit under a tree, whether you're bowing into a flower, it doesn't matter. Whether you're just lying on the floor in your favorite lounge chair, it doesn't matter. There's no right way to surrender. It's about the felt sense and falling into your direct recognition of a deep surrender into yourself. Because this is the kind of surrender that reveals a deeper truth of who you are. So we get to practice surrender in everyday life. We get to practice surrender when we don't get what we want, when things don't go our way. We get to practice surrender. But all of that practice in surrender in the worldly sense is preparing us. It's preparing us for a depth of surrender, which is the surrender into yourself, the surrender of your personhood, the surrender of your false sense of being someone into being no one, being no thing. It's preparation to surrender. When grace comes and says, yes, now, jump in. It's a felt sense in your innermost being that surrender happens and you're ready. You're so ready because you've been on the precipice for so long, bowing and bowing and bowing, giving everything and everything and everything, that when the grace comes and the flow moves through your innermost world, that you're so ready, that the threads and the tendrils are so fine that the purity of your heart is so innocent in surrender that you just fall when grace blows in. It's like, and you go, right? It's not like a big chopping. That's how life, that's how life plays out. The playing out of life is the grace chopping and chopping. But when there's a readiness to give it all, it's just a, and you're gone. You're gone. God, the Holy Mother, just, and you're gone. You're gone. All edges, all boundaries. And suddenly, the sublime nature of the being, the divine being, is all there is. It's all there is. And hallelujah, hallelujah. So as these words come, it is just to feel the Shakti flow, because the Shakti flow is the divine vehicle that is being sent to carry you deeper and deeper in. It's always just to feel the resonance. The resonance is the transmission. The transmission is actually the silence out of which the words are bubbling. The words bubble, right? The words are silence. How can the mind fathom that? The words are the bubbling effervescence of silence that is flowing as a Shakti flow, a flow of bliss that is being sent to carry you. It's the divine taxi, right? All hail. It's being sent to carry you deeper in to the divine surrender, the divine surrender. So catch the tails of the Shakti flow through feeling the resonance, where you feel truth, where you feel the aliveness of your longing, where you feel the aliveness of the heart, where you feel love, where you feel stillness, where you feel silence. Do not be prescriptive with the mind about what you're looking for. Just feel it with wild abandon. Just feel what you feel as the resonance of truth. And what you feel is the nectar of your knowing. Drink it in, drink it in, drink it in, and drink it in some more. Do not stop drinking until you are on the floor, intoxicated with the holy essence of your true nature. So, a divine invitation to be yourself, to be your holy self, your whole holy self, right here now. Let go of all the imaginings of what it is, and let go of all the ideas of not being holy or sacred, and just be your holy self. Be your holy, holy self right now. When you are your holy self, there is this meeting in the oneness. There is a meeting as the one holy self. That is wholeness. It is divinity. It is grace. It is glory. It is God. It is wholeness. It is wholeness, ever whole. So, whatever flavor you are tasting, that is your perfect flavor. Drink it in. Drink in the perfect flavor that you are being offered. It's to take in the flavor, to want nothing more, nothing less, to only want the divine flavor that grace is offering you now. And drink it in, drink it in, drink it in, through being here, just being here, in your own presence, felt sense of presence, just being here. Being the being simply aware of all that is moving and changing, and just being yourself in utter surrender to this deep felt longing of the heart to fall all the way in. This prayer to be humbled, to be humbled, to be humbled, all the way in, all the way in, all the way in. May I be humbled all the way in, all the way in, to truth, to God, to the self, to the glory. May I be humbled all the way in. May I be humbled all the way in, all the way into self-knowledge, all the way into the heart, all the way into God knowing, all the way into Mother, all the way in to truth. May I be humbled all the way in, all the way into the silence, all the way in to the silence, the blissful silence that just is. Mm. 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 Being the offering, being the offering, the eternal offering, being the eternal offering. Mm. Mm. The gift that never stops giving, the offering that is perpetually offering itself in surrender into itself, into itself, into itself, into itself, into itself. Never landing, never becoming, ever falling into.